Hi, it's Tricia Johnston, residential realtor with Ladder & Blum with your real estate tip of the week. Sometimes sellers get stressed out about the buyer's home inspection. Here are a few things you can do to make that process go smoother. First, make sure all the utilities are on: electricity, gas, water. Be sure that all areas are accessible for the inspector. There's nothing blocking the water heater, the electric panel, the HVAC system. Make sure they can get into the garage, the attic, storage room. If there are any burned out light bulbs, replace those and replace your air filter. Clean the air return vent. And if there are any light switches that are difficult to find or something that's only operated with a remote, leave a note for the inspector. If you do these things, the home inspection process will be much less stressful for everyone. If you have any real estate questions that I can help you with, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm Tricia Johnston with Ladder & Blum, and I'll be back here again next week with another real estate tip for you.
Do you need cash? Do you want to consolidate debt? Premier Credit can help. They provide quick and confidential loans for any reason. Their service is same day, and most loans are approved within minutes. You can apply in person or by the phone. Their experienced and knowledgeable loan professionals will leave you feeling confident that your loan is being properly handled in a secure manner. Premier Credit can be reached at 225-667-8100, or you can email WeSayYes@premiercredit.com, or stop by and spin the wheel at 139 Del Norte Avenue in Denham Springs. They're open Monday through Friday from 8:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. and are a proud sponsor of Local Leaders, the podcast. If you're in the market to purchase a home or sell your home, then Tricia Johnston of Ladder & Blum Realty can assist. With over a decade of experience in the area, Tricia's vast knowledge of real estate makes her the perfect realtor to represent you. For more information, Tricia can be reached at area code 225-754-2000. or via her website at triciajohnston.com. Tricia Johnston, building a strong foundation of trust, one home at a time. Ever wonder why the same paint color appears to change when applied to different rooms in your house? How much difference does applying quality paint actually make when you're painting your home or office? Can wall colors really dictate your mood? And why do paint bids seem to be all over the charts in this area? We're going to discuss this plus a whole bunch more today with local business owner Stephanie Berthelot of SR Enterprise, Sheetrock and Painting. So with that, Stephanie, welcome to Local
Jim.
Leaders, the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, no problem at all. I've known you a little while. And before we dig into everything with you, I do want to say it's officially season 3 of Local Leaders, the podcast.
Yay.
And wow, have we come a long way. We're off and running now. We got a beautiful new office on 181 Del Norte Avenue in Denham Springs, and we are here to stay, my friend. You're doing some work in there.
Absolutely.
So you know that a guy that knows a lot of good painters in this area, when I choose someone to do my office, they must be pretty good. So we're going to talk a little bit about all that too. We're going to get you into your expertise in painting. We're going to get into your expertise in sheetrock. But first, we want to get a little information on you. Where did you grow up? Where did you attend high school at?
I grew up in Laplace in St. John the Baptist, and I went to St. Charles Catholic High School.
Gotcha.
Out there.
Gotcha. And at some point, you ended up in Livingston Parish, where you live now. How long have you been here?
I've been here since 95.
You excel in painting residential and commercial. Yes. So you do both.
Yeah.
And you can even produce artwork on canvas, those sorts of things. That's more of a hobby of yours. But hey, if somebody wants to throw you $1 million to paint a beautiful painting, you'll do it, right?
Most definitely.
16th Chapel, whatever.
Absolutely.
You're all into it. What initially led you into the painting business?
Well, it started when I was in high school. My boyfriend's family had their own painting business, and I went to work with them, and I was get to hang out with my boyfriend and get paid to do it at the same time, right?
Why, take me from there. What did you do at that point?
Once I got out of high school, I painted for a couple more years, and then I actually went to nursing school. Yeah. And I was a nurse for about 2 years, but I was just very unhappy. So
why?
It was just very depressing for me and too compassionate, and I'm a upbeat person, and nobody wants me knocking on their door at 4 a.m. Hi, I'm here to draw some blood. Good morning. Very stressful. So I came back into painting because I know when I leave the customer's home, they're happy, they're content, they love it, they're smiling, and it's a less stressful environment for them, and I'm making their home beautiful in the process.
Sure. Yeah, and it's the good thing is you kind of get to work on a different canvas, all the time.
All the time.
Instead of painting the same thing all over again. And now when you started out painting, and you I would imagine over time you got better and better. You probably trained under some people that were pretty good painters.
Absolutely.
Taught you some things.
Yeah.
Okay. And tell me a little bit about that. So did you go to work for another contractor? And
I've worked for I would say about 5 or 6 different contractors before I actually took off on my own.
Got it.
And I picked up something from every one of them. There wasn't anything that I didn't pick up. And even some of the painters that they had working for them, I learned from them. I absorbed whatever information they wanted to teach me. I took it all in and I apply it to my skills that I use today.
Which is very, very important. Your better business owners, they are people that are constantly looking for ways to improve themselves. And if you have a tool or something like that they can use, they're kind of like a sponge, and they just suck that up. Especially in a trade like painting, it's not necessarily hard from the standpoint of labor intensive, let's say for that one room.
Right.
But you could make some major mistakes if you're not rolling into wet edges. You could literally get hat banding all over that room. This is not something a homeowner's going to know. So they're going to go cut in that whole room. It's all going to dry. And then the next day they're going to say, I'm going to roll it. And then they're going to have a big seam going all the way around the top, all the way around the door casings, where when I come in and explain to them, yeah, we call that hat banding. That's because you let this dry before you rolled it, and it'll never dry the exact same color because there was a temperature variance between those times that you painted it.
Exactly.
And that's all it takes. So, and that's just one of the many reasons. But it's, I say all that to say this: professional painters are very important. Good professional painters are very, very important, and they're also very rare. There's a lot involved to running a paint business besides just going and painting sheetrock walls, right?
Absolutely.
BJ Pawn and Gun has been servicing the Livingston Parish community since 1990. If you need it, there's a good chance BJ Pawn has it. So go see them in Denham Springs. They're a proud sponsor of Local Leaders, the podcast. Talk about this a little bit, and that is the business of painting. I want to discuss, why you sometimes find a wide gap between painting companies as far as bids. People sometimes say, well, I'm going to get a couple of bids, and if one's way cheaper than the other, I'm going with it. But as you folks are listening to this, I want you to keep in mind there is a lot that plays into the bid process that you may or may not realize is occurring. And you really need to compare these painters and what they're offering, not only in the way of their talent, but also, what type of paint they're using, how they're painting it. Do they have insurance?
Very.
So first of all, the first thing I want to know, are you insured?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. And you have like general liability, workers' comp, that kind of thing? Okay. Okay. So, and that's something that you as homeowners, you want to look for. And the reason for that, Stephanie, an interesting stat, painters actually rank in the top 5 in costliest insurances in
yes, we do.
In the field. Yeah.
Right.
And there's reasons for that.
Yes.
Obviously.
Yes.
I mean, you're off the ground.
Yep.
You're on ladders. It's not the safest work environment in the world. And I can tell you that because it's costly, that's why you will see a variance in bids between painters that have it and painters that don't, right?
Correct.
General liability basically protects the homeowner in the event, hypothetically, you spill a gallon of paint on a brand new carpet.
Exactly.
That would cover it. You fall off a ladder and it hits their brand new Mercedes.
It's covered under general liability. Yes.
Okay. So that's why you want to have those things. Why you want to make sure your painter has those things is just for that reason. If something goes wrong that is really nobody's fault, it's just an accident. You don't want a painter to look at you and say, well, I can't pay for that $4,500 dent in your car because I don't have insurance. Now I want to get into your business a little bit. Okay. And what you do. Tell me some of the things that you do other than, obviously you do, you need 2 rooms in your house, painted walls and trim. You're going to do that.
Absolutely.
But tell me some of the other things you do.
Well, I do sheetrock work. I can repair everything from, a small little nick up to, hanging sheetrock in a whole room, ceilings, walls, tape floating, texturing, and then, of course, painting on top of that. I also refinish cabinets and doors and woodwork, and I faux paint, and I do hang wallpaper and or remove it, which is wall covering now, because a lot of people are dealing with vinyls now, be it a mural or wallpaper for a church or a bank or a school.
Yeah, they are. And logos.
Yes.
How about, those sorts of things are huge right now. I've walked in several businesses where they actually have their logo painted on a wall in their lobby.
Yep.
And those are things you do?
I do those too. Yep. I do logos and murals.
So how do you, is that a projection process you use for that?
Yes. I have a projector, so it can be whatever size the customer would like it to be. And then we trace it on there and the basic outline on there. And then we just paint up the graphics. Excellent.
And that's something that's kind of a specialized field.
Absolutely.
Yes. I don't know a whole lot of painters that are experienced in that. And of course that makes all the difference in the world in the finished product. I mentioned earlier when we were talking about business, material costs, things like that, those play a lot into what painters do when they bid a job, things like that. But how important is it using quality paint versus a homeowner handing you 2 gallons of their favorite paint and saying, go paint this, for example? They might very well have quality paint, but they might very well not. And one of my pet peeves from a standpoint of what I do is you always, you need to kind of listen to people that do it every day. Right. And those people are going to know the difference between a good paint and a bad one, basically. Absolutely. How important is that to the finished product?
Oh my God, it's extremely important. It's better to spend $5 more on a better quality of paint versus something bought right off the shelf from one of your general stores and have to put 3 coats on versus 2, or to get the right coverage that you're looking for a thicker, durable paint. And a year down the road, 2 years down the road, if you have to wipe it off, you're not going to wipe the paint off. The paint's still going to stay on the wall. Right. So it's extremely important to spend the extra money for a good quality paint, especially on your exteriors more than anything. I see that more than most people do.
Oh, yeah. And, especially here.
Yes.
Because we live in a rainforest.
Yes.
Louisiana is probably, I would say, one of 3 states in the United States that is the world's worst for paint. Because it is constantly damp. It's constantly either humid here. It doesn't have to be raining for you to turn your windshield wipers on in the morning and go to work. And that is the enemy to paint. Water is an enemy to paint, even though it's made up of water. It can affect so much in the drying process. Of course, it causes mildew. So that's something that if you don't have a quality paint, if you're not using a quality paint, you're really way behind the 8 ball as far as mildew protection, for sure.
Knowing your environment.
Right.
Knowing what paint to use in your environment.
Yeah.
If what paint works up north in the cold weather is not going to do good down here. But knowing what paint holds up well in the humidity makes all the difference in the world.
Oh, I tell people all the time, I can put ceiling paint outside on a porch in Iowa and it would probably hold up great.
Oh, yes.
Because there's no humidity there. There's no harsh condition to affect that paint. But here down in the deep south, you better be using something quality. If your paint's so ridiculously cheap that it's like, why is it this cheap? It's probably, you may want to consult with a painter. There's
probably a reason.
And find out. Yeah, because there is a big difference in the science between those two things. And a professional painter's going to know that.
Yeah.
Because they do it every day, so put your trust in your painter. I can guarantee you one thing. I can't imagine you recommending anything for anybody that's going to make your life any more difficult.
Oh, no.
Right? So if it doesn't work, you're probably going to be calling the painter saying, come back over here and repaint. And so when they recommend something, it's something they trust, they believe in.
Right. And
they're willing to put their name on, literally, because it's their job. So make sure you do that. Now, with SR Enterprise in particular, there's a lot of things y'all do that are really impressive. One of the things that I find is the most difficult for painting companies and painters in general to grasp is sheetrock finishing. And for those that may not know, primarily the reason for that is you can have just a little bit of a variance in texture, and it will show up on sheetrock the second paint hits it.
Exactly.
And for people that aren't experienced, Stephanie, the first thing you're going to think is the paint's not covering. I can see the joint. I can see where those two sheetrock actually join. But actually, the cause of that a lot of times, and there's other causes as well, but most of the time there's a variance between the texture on that joint and the texture on the rest of the sheetrock, and it's causing what we call shadowing.
Yes.
And so you basically just sand that a little bit more, and that, believe it or not, that joint will go away. You can put 5 more gallons of paint on that one joint, and you'll still see it if you don't do that. You never change the texture. And that's something that y'all are like masters of. As a matter of fact, throughout this video, we'll be talking about different things that they do. And I'm gonna pop up on the video version. So if you're listening to the audio version, go to the video version at some point and check it out. But I'll have pictures pop up of some of the things we'll be talking about. One of them is their sheetrock work. Things happen, Stephanie. Do people step through their ceilings?
All the time.
Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, usually electricians and AC guys.
Oh, yes. And normally between now and Christmas, I'll get at least half a dozen phone calls for step-throughs.
Yeah?
Every year.
That's interesting. Yeah,
Never
that's
fails.
true, because Christmas, they're getting decorations down. Maybe October, they're getting Halloween down.
Yep.
And boom, foot through the ceiling. Sheetrock and sheetrock patching are probably, in my opinion, the two hardest things in the paint business to master.
Oh, yeah. And you have to know, finesse it, how to finesse the mud to make it look right and to make it blend in. And more importantly is blending the texture. Every texture in every home is different. Yeah. One might be a little heavier, one might be a little lighter, one might be a smooth finish. And you have to know what to do to make sure it's all going to blend in at the end. So how to put the texture on is a big part of it.
It's huge, and it's very hard to do. It is not easy. Now, let me ask you this. Say a homeowner had some patching they needed done in their house. There's just a few patches or whatever. Are you willing to kind of bid out that and go do just a couple patches for somebody?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Okay, because some people do have the perception, it's only a couple of holes. They're not going to come all the way out here. You will do that.
Absolutely.
Okay. Someone that has seen, this stuff for some 2 decades, and you're one of the best I've ever seen at matching texture and at doing sheetrock. But what about if somebody has a whole house and they want to hang it? Do that?
Yes, I do.
Yeah? Okay. So you're not just limited to those patches. Stephanie will come out there. She'll put up sheetrock for your whole house. I'm sure during the flood, you did a lot of that.
I did a lot of that.
Tiffany Sicard with HomeKey Mortgage combines the experience and knowledge you need to make your mortgage loan a smooth, stress-free process. Reach out to Tiffany for more information on the vast mortgage programs available in the Livingston Parish area. Tiffany Sicard of HomeKey Mortgage, a proud sponsor of Local Leaders, the podcast.
And you, speaking of that, you do commercial work.
Yes,
you mentioned that. So give me some of the projects you've done, maybe in and around this area.
I've done,
Peebos?
No, Portobello's. And I'm fixing to do Portobello's again. Okay. I've done
same guy.
Same owner, yes. I've done Mansur's on the Boulevard. I've done Hunt's Tire.
Right there, sir.
And he owns a car wash too. Did both of those, and I just gave Pinky's, the snowball stand right down the road here, a facelift.
Awesome. And is it still pink?
Yes, it's still pink.
There you go. And I knew that because I sold you the paint for that job. And I remember I was like, this better be for a snowball stand because that's what it, but perfect for a snowball stand.
Absolutely.
So the point of that is you do a lot of commercial work and you do it for some pretty well-known businesses. So businesses do business with people they trust because they're trusting their business. They're trusting their business to that person. And, painting's it's the aesthetics.
Yes.
It's the thing that everybody sees.
That's right.
And so it's very important that you have someone experienced for that, which you obviously are. So take me through like a typical process if someone just wanted to get a bid. They're needing to paint their house and they call you and they say, hey, I saw you on Local Leaders, a podcast, and I would love for you to come out and give me a bid on my house. Take me through that process. Do you go right out there and look at it, or
we set up an estimate, a time and date that's mostly convenient for the customers. I try to stay very flexible with my estimates. Some people obviously work 9 to 5, so I can't get out there until after they get home and they're ready to walk around and look at everything.
Yeah.
Some situations I'm able to give the bid right away. Other times I have to take it home, write it up. A lot of my customers are living in the home while the remodeling is going on. So we have to work it to where, section off, A, B, C. So that way they have time to move things around. So I'll individually price those sections and I will itemize my bid for the customer that way. So we could do this month, let them get moved around. Then we can go to the next part and do a little bit more. So in a couple of months, they'll have it all done, or we can go in there and do it all at one time. It's whatever works for the customer.
Yeah. And so if you had to go home and do some figuring, on a quote, what is the turnaround process? Usually within a day or so?
A day or two, yeah. Okay. I get it emailed to them. And, I always follow up, make sure they got the email, because sometimes, computers do what they do.
Yeah.
And I try to make sure, follow up questions, if they had any concerns, anything they wanted to address or go over with, and just give them a couple of days to think about it, and we go from there.
Awesome. And that's relatively quick compared to what some time frames are. So don't worry about it. If you need Stephanie to come out and look, basically what I heard is you'll work around their schedule.
Yep.
If they got to work 9 to 5, you can come out there at 6 maybe, or something like that. And you would definitely have a quote back to them timely and stuff like that. A lot of times, believe it or not, on my side of the paint business, the biggest complaint I hear from homeowners are they came out here and looked at the job and never got back with me. Or I called them, we scheduled a time, and they never showed up.
I do hear that a lot too.
And I think that's crazy because just how you get paid.
Yeah, you're losing money. I mean, you're just.
I mean, why would you give
watching
that
it go away? Exactly.
Happens all the time.
Yeah, no, I don't get every bid I give, but if I don't give, I'm certainly not going to get any.
That's right. You definitely lose 100% of the jobs you don't show up for.
Absolutely.
There's no doubt about that. We talked about earlier, you do logo painting for businesses, which I think is a really neat process. I've seen several, in and around town. Some of them you've done. And I just think it makes like an impression as soon as someone walks in. There's a projection technique that you mentioned. Tell me how that works. You basically take this projector, it shines the image on the wall.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what do? Is it like tracing? Well,
with the projector having the image on the wall, I'm able to outline it. And then I just go in and paint it with whatever colors that the logos are.
The company colors or whatever.
Yeah, company colors.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So, she does that. I don't know a lot of painters that do that, believe it or not. And I know a ton, but I don't know a lot that do that. So that's something that you would definitely reach out to SR Enterprises for. You mentioned murals.
Yep.
Becoming more and more popular.
Very popular.
Yeah.
Very, very popular.
You done? What companies?
I've done for Ben Bardage. I've done a couple for him.
Yeah. Bardage Law.
Yeah,
yeah.
Bardage, yes. And he likes the Louisiana swamp scenes. So I absolutely love doing those. It's home, it's Louisiana. So I actually have another one to do for him.
And before you say anything else, that is an unbelievable picture, that Louisiana swamp scene is that one of the ones okay, she had sent me, I asked her to send me some of her pictures because Stephanie will share some of her better work with me a lot. And this will blow your mind. So I'm glad you sent that one because I will definitely have that one on the video version of this podcast. Beautiful little swamp scene there.
Yeah, I absolutely loved it.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Okay.
I just wanted to say that.
I enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
It was just so much fun watching it come to life.
I can imagine. Well, and Stephanie, that's really the ultimate separator because I know a lot of good painters, good painters paint, they can paint. Don't ask them to do a mural. That now you're getting into artistry. Now you're getting into a totally kind of different thing than just your typical trade. But you can do that too. And that's what kind of makes your company so interesting is now we've talked about sheetrock. We've talked about just general painting of walls. We've talked about logos. We've talked about murals. You're becoming like a one-stop shop.
I'm a finisher.
Yeah.
It's my job to make your home look beautiful.
Right.
Period.
Right. And that is I'm glad you said that because that's something that's what you want your painter to feel like. Is almost like I'm going to treat your home like it's my own.
That's right.
And if I was painting my walls, I would want them to look like this. So I'm not leaving until this looks this good.
Right.
So very, very good. And something you don't hear a lot from painters like you used to. So one thing that I've seen firsthand, and I'm going to tell all of you a story about this, but is your ability to float out stain. So when I say float out stain, I'm going to give you a true example of what happened to me. So I have a desk that I am absolutely in love with. It is beautiful. It's a beautiful desk. Okay. That's all I can tell you. That's the best way to describe it. And over the years, chairs slamming into it, things like that. The problem is the edges of this desk, and I'll have these pictures also, but the edges of this desk, it had just got ate up with scratches. And so what is the first thing I did? So I thought, I've got to fix all this. I knew one person to call for that. That was Stephanie. I called Stephanie. She came out and I showed her this. And I said, do you think you can make this look like the actual wood grain and stain color and everything that it was before? She's like, yeah, no problem. And now everybody keep in mind, 2 decades I've been doing this, and I know some things about paint. So I'm like, I don't know if it's going to be, it wasn't that I was doubting her talent, but I'm like, I can live with it if it's just a little off. That was kind of like my attitude. It's got to look better than it does now because it was all scratch. So she came in and she did that work for me. Folks, when I tell y'all, it was, if I had a scale of 1 to 10 on how happy I would be, 10 being the happiest, I was probably a 20. You literally cannot tell where she started and where she stopped. That big of a difference. Now, what other situations would you use that in, that particular technique?
Well, there's situations where customers have white doors, white cabinets, white trim in their home. It's painted. It's not stain grade, but they want that stain quality look.
Sure.
You can spend a fortune buying stain grade materials, or you can hire me to come in there and make that white door look just like wood.
Yeah.
Nobody would know it's not.
Yeah. Yeah. So what if it's a metal door, though?
I could do it with metal. I could do it with fiberglass.
You can.
I most certainly can and have.
That is, so she can basically take a metal door and, folks, all I can tell you is, unless you knocked on it, you wouldn't know it wasn't wood. It's an amazing technique. And I'm not going to mention how she does it. But trust me, she does it. It's really cool. And there's a lot of advantages for it here in Louisiana. And I'll give you one, and this is a little different technique that she does. It's a little different process, but I'll give you one example of where, SR Enterprise can help specifically here in Louisiana in this area on something that I see a lot of. So we have a lot of doors here where, varnish just, I don't care whose varnish you're using.
Yeah.
Look, Man of War Spar varnish to me is the best of the best of the best that they make. The science on that product is absolutely top of the line. So it's expensive. It's not cheap, but it's the best.
Right.
Even with that, if you varnish your door and it's a stained door, you varnish it a year later. Okay. Say every spring, you better go out there and you better revarnish that door. All you got to do is put a quick thing of varnish on it. If you don't, within about 2 or 3 years, and probably half of you watching this are going to say, that's why my door is doing that. What'll happen is the bottom of that door will start dilapidating. It'll just start eating away. The varnish in that door will literally start cracking. The top of it will look like it did the day it was painted practically or stained. And the reason for that is the sun rises and sets. And so it's going up that door and it's sitting up on that door all day. And as the sun moves, it moves up that door. So it never really touches the part that's shaded. But everything where that sun hits, you can tell it. And if you wait too long, you have to basically float it back out. Now, Stephanie loves that.
Oh, yes.
Because she's very good at floating outdoors. If you are not a professional painter, and if you're not as good as Stephanie is at floating outdoors as a professional painter, you ain't going to be able to make it look like it was originally. It is just, number one, it's too hard of a process. There's a lot of steps involved. Call Stephanie if you have that problem right now at SR Enterprise and let her come out and quote you on that, because the longer you wait, the worse that's going to get.
It's going to get.
And how often do you see that?
Oh, down here? Yeah. At least, all the time. But I have actual contracts where I'll make sure every other year we're going out putting another coat of varnish on that door so they don't have to spend the big money to get it completely refinished. As long as it's maintained properly, you'll never have to do it, but you have to maintain it.
Oh, yeah. And I didn't realize you had it in your contract. You go out there every other year. That's a great thing. And look, you call a paint rep and, usually I'm the first one to get the call, and someone will call and they'll say, my door at the bottom is like changing color. And is it a stained door? Yes. Well, take me through what's going on. And it always is I haven't varnished it in 3 years or whatever. And that will eat your door absolutely up, especially in South Louisiana. But the sun it's the strongest surface or the strongest force on, well, it's not even on Earth, Stephanie. So I guess in the universe,
it's coming to Earth. It's coming.
Yeah, it's the strongest force in the universe, and so the sun will literally just tear anything up that it touches over time. So make sure that you get that done. I would be willing to almost bet 50% of you right now have that issue on a door if it's stained. Stephanie can go in there and she can float that out where it will look like the day you had it. Don't try to do it yourself. That is way, there's a point where that's way too difficult of a process for someone that doesn't do this for a living. So keep that in mind. Now, Stephanie, do you assist with color selection?
William Waldrep of TWFG Insurance in Denham Springs can service all of your insurance needs. Offering auto, life, health, and commercial insurance, William Waldrep of TWFG Insurance is a proud supporter of Local Leaders, the podcast.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I have to stay trendy with what's in colors, what's in style right now. And plus, being in the customer's home, I can see what they have in their house, furniture, drapery wise. I can ask the right questions if they're going to change their drapes, if they're getting new furniture or new carpet, new flooring, to know what colors are going to work best for their scheme.
Yeah, and the good thing about you is you work with a lot of other trades. So you've been in business a long time, flooring companies, paint companies, manufacturers. I mean, if someone's looking to put their house for sale or something like that, you probably have preferred people you recommend.
Absolutely.
That sort of thing. And my point to that is she's more than just, a successful business owner relative to her painting company. She has a large network of people that she deals with because she's been doing this so long. So Stephanie, be happy to discuss your options, maybe moving forward after the painting process. Maybe you're painting it to sell it, something like that. So that's something to keep in mind, that you may not have that access with someone else. That's kind of a separator in Stephanie's world. She has a large network of people to draw from on that. So how difficult has it been to be a female business owner in like a male dominated trade? Has it gotten any better since you started? It's
gotten better, but I still get people who are surprised.
Yeah.
I've seen both sides of the coin there. I've seen the doubters, but no, she's not going to do a good job. It's a woman. But I've also seen it is a woman, so she will do a good job. I find that me being the female, a lot more people are more comfortable with me going in their homes versus having strangers. Well, I'm a stranger to them until I actually meet them, but I get to know my customers very well. Most of my customers become very
whether
friends.
It's right or not. I mean, women are generally trusted more than men.
And we're, no offense, cleaner, more meticulous.
Hey, that's not always true.
Not always true, but we are going to leave the place cleaner than it was when we got there.
Yes.
That's definitely. I have to dust.
Oh, I'm a bull in a china closet. Don't even get me started.
Yeah,
trust me.
I certainly can't paint baseboards when there's dust on them. I can't. I have to sweep around the baseboards before I paint. Wipe down walls and stuff before. So we're actually cleaning before we're even getting in there to start working.
Right. And being a being a female, and let's face it, I mean, painting was was a male dominated trade.
It still is. And
it's been something you've kind of had to prove yourself a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I take pride in being able to do that and prove myself to the customers. And they're like, wow, great job.
Let me tell you, she'll outwork a lot of men. I'm going to tell you, I go on a lot of jobs that Stephanie's on, and you better have had your energy drink that morning. You're going to try to keep up with her when it comes to painting, and especially with the quality she does. So you brush and roll, but do you spray?
Yes, I spray too.
Pretty good sprayer?
I believe I am, yes.
Good. And spraying is, again, that's not a process anybody can do. There's an art to it. Techniques to spraying that experienced good painters will have. Stephanie, obviously being one of those. They spray or they can brush and roll. Mm-hmm. Just depends, I would imagine, on the situation.
Yeah, it depends on the job.
Yeah. So, the point of all of that is... and I've told you all that to tell you this: when you're dealing with a painter, make sure you're dealing with a quality company. Make sure you're dealing with a company that has insurance. Make sure if you have an option between picking someone that does a little bit and picking someone that does a little bit of everything, do that. Because things will come up. That person will start painting that bedroom, and then you'll remember about that hole you need to get patched.
Right.
Those sorts of things. If you're a commercial company, SR Enterprise does commercial work. They're fully licensed and all that sort of stuff. And they'd love to talk to you, come out there, give you a bid. But you do a lot of things outside of just painting. I mean, you're a member of BNI, which is a business networking organization. Mm-hmm. So, you definitely have a business side to you away from your business where you network with a bunch of other people,
right?
Which is, I'm circling back to what we talked about earlier, which was, your network is vast, so you can help people with a lot of things just outside of the painting if you're there and you're doing
local.
that work. And they're local. That's what this show is all about. So, a lot of people can say that, but I mean, Stephanie, you sponsor Local Leaders of the Podcast. Mm-hmm. That you don't have to do that, do you?
No, I don't have to.
Nobody makes you?
No, he doesn't force me.
I don't put like the Jedi mind trick on you?
No.
You will sponsor. No, she does, and she does that out of the goodness of her heart, and she does that because she believes in supporting local business herself.
Absolutely.
And this show is all about promoting local business. And we want to do that, as much as possible. We all have that belief system that are on this show, obviously, or they wouldn't be here. And you kind of walk the walk and talk the talk by sponsoring me, so I do appreciate that. And consider that when you're when you're doing business with anybody. Consider people that local business means something to, because all want to support each other in that way.
Yes.
I think. So on this show, I typically do a few fun facts, and these are just things that kind of are a general discussion of what we talked about today, but they're fun facts, just generalized. So a lot of people ask me this question. You probably know the answer to this, but for the people that don't, I get asked all the time why painters wear white.
I knew you were going to ask that.
Now, for the longest time, I believed it was because it was almost like a joke. I believed that because painters would get paint on their clothes, it showed up best on white.
White goes with everything.
Yeah, and so I'm like, that's got to be why they do that. But there's an actual reason, and believe it or not, in the 19th century, unions were huge.
It was the union.
There was a time way back in the day when painting unions were, if you weren't a painter or not in the painting union, you did not work.
That's right.
It was that big of a deal. And so what they wanted as painters is they wanted a way to separate themselves from the painters who were not union.
Yep.
Because they felt like if you weren't supporting the painters union, you really weren't a true painter.
Right.
So they said, we're going to come up with kind of uniform. So they came out with painters' whites. That's what they called them. And they were like the white, shirt and the white pants. And that's where it came from. Now, the second advantage to that was it highlighted like paint splatter
Right.
and things like that, which is what I thought was the only reason they were doing it. And that was so they kind of stand out.
Right.
You were a busy painter if you had paint all over your clothes.
That's right.
If you were a painter and your painter's whites were totally clean, you weren't a busy painter. You probably weren't that good. That was the perception back in those days. So interesting little fact there. Then I had a friend of mine ask me this several years ago. I wasn't really sure of the answer. I hate to admit I didn't know something about paint, but I'm like, you know what? That's a good question. I wonder why. So he asked me why barns were always painted red. And I'm like, I don't know. I think I tried to make something up that sounded good. And he's like, and I'm like, but I'm gonna find out for you. And I did. I eventually found the answer to that. So hundreds of years ago, farmers painted their barns with linseed oil. And what linseed oil did was it helped seal the wood, keep it from rotting. That's what linseed oil does. Rust shavings, they would take rust shavings. They would mix that in with the oil, and that would help keep moss and fungus from kind of growing on the wood. Okay. So that would turn the oil red, the linseed oil.
Right.
So when they would paint it on the barn would be red. Nowadays, they call it barn red.
Stephanie Berthelot and the crew at SR Enterprise can handle it all, from sheetrock to texture to paint. Give Stephanie a call at 504-432-9284. SR Enterprise, where they spread the paint and you spread the word.
Now, Stephanie, how can people find more information about you on Facebook if they actually want to get in touch with you and get a bid? I'm sure you're going to get 100 of them.
Absolutely.
As soon as this airs.
I have my own Facebook page, SR Enterprise. I have a gallery there. You can go see some of my work that I've done in the past. And of course, my phone number is listed on there. You can call me, text me. We can message me any way you want to, and we can set you up for a bid.
And I always give my, you get t-shirts from me all the time because she buys paint from me. So, but I don't give you the special editions a whole lot. So it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Yes, it is.
And Farrell Calhoun has these beautiful pink, you can't hide from anybody in these t-shirts. And so I'm going to give you one of these. These are from Farrell Calhoun Paint. And then I have this awesome cup here. This is made by Sporting Center in Denham Springs, Louisiana. Present you with that. These were actually etched. You can see the logo there.
Nice.
These were actually etched with a laser. They do this in-house. You can go back and watch my episode I did with James Adam McKeon at the Sporting Center. We talk about this laser, but this is compliments of Sporting Center, who is a great sponsor of this show.
Thank you.
And they want you to have that. Now, I would like to thank McHugh David for his engineering of this podcast. And in the words of Jerry Maguire, McHugh, you complete me. How was that? My guest for today, Stephanie Berthelot with SR Enterprise, the Livingston Parish News for the space, and all you viewers and listeners for your support. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on all my social media, as a matter of fact, and spread the word. Thank you to all my sponsors. Stephanie, you are one. We are just moving.
Loving it.
The word's getting out. I ask people all the time, but please, if you enjoy my podcast, please share it. Or please consider all of my sponsors when you make purchase decisions. They really care what this podcast is doing for all local businesses. If you're interested in sponsoring local leaders of podcast or appearing, please reach out to me by emailing jim@paintpodcast.com. If you're interested in getting my newsletter, The Weekly Leader, straight to your inbox, I'll attach a link in the description of this podcast where you can sign up. Until next time, I am Jim Chapman, reminding you to love your community, support local business, and keep leading.
Sporting Center in Denham Springs is your one-stop shop for team sports equipment, school uniforms, and promotional goods. Conveniently located next to the Antique Village since 1977. Sporting Center, Your business means everything to them because your name rides on everything they do. Dane Arnold with Itradexchange has been enabling small business in the Livingston Parish area to save cash through his network of over 300 participating Livingston Parish businesses. Saving cash by trading services with other exchange members is what Itradexchange is all about. For more information, contact Dane Arnold at 225-205-3640 or visit itradexchange.biz.